You couldn't read Blood Meridian without this. Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian is often described as one of the most violent novels ever written. That description is accurate but insufficient. What makes the novel so difficult and so enduring is not merely the scale of its brutality, but the relentlessness with which that brutality is presented. Violence in Blood Meridian is not episodic or corrective. It is constant, ambient, and largely indifferent to human meaning. Without a mediating structure, the novel would risk becoming unreadable, not because it shocks, but because it overwhelms. Judge Holden provides that structure. Judge Holden functions as a conduit that allows the reader to confront the novel's violence without being overwhelmed by it. He does not soften or excuse human depravity. Instead, he concentrates it, articulates it, and gives it conceptual coherence. Through Holden, McCarthy transforms what could have been an unbearable accumulation of atrocities into a sustained philosophical inquiry. Holden's importance lies not in whether he is literally supernatural, but in what he represents. He speaks of violence not as moral failure, but as necessity. War, in his account, is not a deviation from human nature, but its highest expression, the ultimate game. This framing moves the novel beyond ethics and into something closer to anthropology or cosmology. Violence is no longer something that happens when morality fails. It is something that precedes morality altogether. Seen through an evolutionary lens, this distinction becomes sharper. Evolution does not privilege goodness, justice, or restraint. It privileges survival, dominance, and successful reproduction. Cooperation emerges not because it is virtuous, but because it is often advantageous. Violence, likewise, is not an aberration in evolutionary terms. It is one of the oldest and most reliable strategies available to organisms competing for scarce resources. Judge Holden articulates this logic with unsettling clarity. His insistence that war is God echoes an evolutionary reality. Conflict is older than culture, older than law, older than conscience. Long before moral systems existed to condemn violence, natural selection rewarded those who could outcompete, outlast, or eliminate rivals. Holden's worldview strips away the comforting illusion that violence is a moral accident. In Blood Meridian, it is revealed as a structural feature of life itself. This does not mean McCarthy endorses Holden's philosophy. Rather, he allows it to be expressed without mitigation. Holden is not a villain to be defeated. He is a hypothesis embodied. What if the drive toward dominance, expansion, and annihilation is not a perversion of human nature, but its evolutionary inheritance? What if morality is a thin, fragile adaptation layered over far older instincts? Without a figure like Holden, these questions would remain submerged beneath the narrative's bloodshed. The violence would feel excessive but inarticulate. Holden gives it language. He makes explicit what the other characters enact blindly, a world in which power determines meaning and survival confers legitimacy. Importantly, this framing does not absolve the novel's human actors. Evolutionary explanation is not moral justification. The members of the Glanton gang are not automatons driven by instinct alone. They make choices within a brutal environment. What Holden provides is not an excuse, but a context, one that implicates the reader as much as the characters. If violence is evolutionarily ancient, then the boundary between them and us becomes uncomfortably thin. This helps explain why Holden remains unique in McCarthy's work. In No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh embodies a different kind of threat. He is deterministic rather than elemental. His violence operates according to a private logic, but it is still recognizably human. The novel is concerned with moral erosion, not evolutionary inheritance. In The Road, McCarthy goes further still. Violence there is stripped of ideology entirely. It is no longer explained, justified, or mythologized. It is simply what happens when social structures collapse and survival becomes the sole organizing principle. There is no judge because none is needed. The evolutionary substrate is laid bare, and what remains is a fragile, deliberate choice to care despite it. Blood Meridian occupies a singular position between these works. It confronts violence not as social breakdown, but as primordial force. That confrontation would be unbearable without mediation. Judge Holden provides that mediation, not by reducing the horror, but by making it intelligible. Holden's unknowability is central to this function. He resists reduction to symbol, demon, or man. Like the evolutionary forces he channels, he cannot be reasoned with or redeemed. He persists. He endures. He will never die. This is not a supernatural boast so much as an evolutionary one. The instincts he represents are not subject to narrative closure. Paradoxically, this is what makes Blood Meridian readable. By giving violence a voice, McCarthy allows the reader to engage with it as a problem, rather than merely suffer it as sensation. Judge Holden does not make the novel humane, he makes it possible. Remove him, and the violence becomes noise. With him, it becomes an argument.